Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast. My name is Brandon Drumm. I'm here with Parker Thune, and we've got a lot to talk about. If you're not on OU Insider, you haven't seen the scrimmage notes.
You should be on OU Insider. You should see the scrimmage notes.
And we're going to talk about that here in a second. I'm going to pass it over to Parker to be able to do that. We're going to talk about that scrimmage, big scrimmage, first scrimmage of the season. The good, the bad, the ugly, the okay. What can be changed? What are we hearing could be changed? Lots and lots to talk about on that front. We're not going to give away everything. We're not going to give away the bank to you guys because that's for our members, but we're going to give you little nibbles and tastes of what we have over there on OU Insider. We're going to talk about post-practice where we met with Kip Lewis, Adebawara. Did I get close?
You got reasonably close.
There we go. Well, I try. Also known as PJ Adebawara. We got to talk to, who else did we get to talk to today, Parker? I forgot now.
Fabechi. We got to talk
Fabechi
to
Wewu.
Jake Roberts.
Yep. So
you said Kip Lewis already, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Kip Lewis was the first one. So we got to talk about that. It just started raining. It is 1:00 in the morning. We're recording. Just started pouring outside here at my house, like hard. Yeah, so we got a lot to talk about. But first, we got some clerical things. Oh, yes, we're also going to talk about recruiting, little 5-star offensive tackle stuff for you guys before we close out. But first, we got some clerical stuff. We got some bills to pay. Parker, take it over.
Yes, first and foremost, folks, this episode of the OU Insider Under the Visor podcast is brought to you by our friends at Babbel. Fast forward to the end of 2024. Think of your goals. What can you do right now to give yourself the best chance of succeeding? If you want to learn a new language, as 1 in 5 Americans do, you absolutely should get Babbel. For me, I took Spanish for years and years, never really took root in my brain. It was in one ear, out the other. Babbel makes it very, very easy for you to learn a new language effectively and quickly. Their tips and tools are approachable, accessible, rooted in real-life situations, and delivered with conversation-based teaching so you're ready to practice what you've learned in the real world. It's designed by real people for real conversations, and they'll help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks at Babbel. Here's a special limited time deal for our listeners. Right now, you can get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription only for our listeners at babbel.com/OU Insider. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/OU Insider, spelled BABBEL.com/OU Insider. Rules and restrictions may apply. Also, download the Autograph app. It is the only app that offers rewards for nothing more than consuming OU content. If that's what you love to do and you're listening to this podcast, of course you love consuming OU content. Download the Autograph app, join the Oklahoma community. Autograph was founded by Tom Brady and a crew of his friends. So sports people that want to enhance the experience of sports fans across the globe within the pockets and the communities that each fan base encompasses. And Oklahoma, of course, has an excellent one and a vibrant one. You can go to link.ag.fan/boomer and use promo code boomer. Again, link.ag.fan/boomer and use promo code boomer to join for free. Also, as Brandon mentioned, and this is a shameless little bit of self-promotion here, both Brandon and I worked the phones devotedly in the aftermath of Oklahoma's scrimmage on Friday to try and bring you guys that are members over at OU Insider the best insight on what went on that evening as the Sooners engaged in their first inter-squad scrimmage of the 2024 season. So we have full notes, very detailed notes up at OUinsider.com, and that's just a drop in the bucket of exclusive OU content that you're going to get if you're a member over there. Now, Monday, August 12th through Friday, August 16th, we're running a special. We are running a special to make it as easy as possible for you to get in the door at minimal cost. You're going to get 75% off your annual subscription if you sign up between Monday, August 12th and Friday, August 16th with promo code SEC24. That is all caps SEC24. We hope to see you over there.
Yes, and ironically, it will only be $24 to sign up for the whole year on top
Very
of that.
nice.
So we try to make it kind of convenient and work with the 24, SEC 24, and the price. Also, if you're a college student, hit us up, ouinsider@rivals.com. We will give you a year. Any college show, I don't care. We had a dude email us from Liberty. We've had 6 Oklahoma State.edu people email us that are big OU fans, and they just go to school there because the degree. We've had a university. We've had 5 from the Texas A&M.
Oh, wow.
Big OU fan. Yeah, bro. TCU, University of Arkansas, University of Georgia, University of Alabama, even a Notre Dame. All email us.
Wow.
All email. They're OU fans, and they want to get on board with this. And that shows you it doesn't matter what college you go to, what university, you have a .edu, email Parker and I at ouinsider@rivals.com. We will send you a promo code to get OU Insider. You know, they got that 75% going on right now. Boom. We'll give it to you for $11.95 if you're a college student. So we've got 2. We've got for the regular Joes and regular Janes out there in the world for $24, SEC 24, starting on August 12th through the 16th. And at any time, all the way up until May 31st of 2025, if you're a college student, you just send us and we'll give you a year for $11.25. If you email us, ouinsider@rivals.com, we'll send you back a promo code. You get us for $11.95 for a whole 12 months. All right. Now, let's discuss that scrimmage, Parker. Yikes. Where to begin? I guess
you said yikes. Where to begin? Because, I think, gosh, you just scared the crap out of some people.
I probably did. And here's why. If you're on OU Insider, there's some fans that are freaking out because we'll tell you the defense dominated. It did. And I think, Parker, we weren't real quick with our post scrimmage notes. Parker threw up like a really bland batch of notes to start just to make sure people got a little bit of a nibble off, but we wanted to make sure, and it was bland for a reason, we wanted to get all sides of the story. I bet you I've been on the phone and Parker's been on the phone probably. I drove back from Kansas City today and I was probably on the phone for 3.5 hours of that drive. And I got to tell you, Parker, there's more to it. Like, yes, the defense dominated. Yes, the quarterback struggled. That it happened. It happened. One, that defense and that defensive front, it's damn good. It is so good. People need to, if you don't know it, you're going to know it. It's good. It's very good. They have, as a source told me this afternoon, in the spring, I watched it and I thought if they could get 1 or 2 more guys on that defensive front to help out with depth, they're going to be freaky nasty. And that was the quote, freaky nasty.
Freaky nasty.
Freaky nasty. I laughed. And I think they were kind of joking around.
I bet you did.
Serious. With my mind, yes, I did. So on top of that, look, the wide receivers probably had 1-2 starters.
They're banged up.
They're banged up. So you take all that, you're going to struggle a little bit. You're not going to have as much. As a quarterback, you're not going to be as confident. The positives. Gavin Sawchuk is the truth. That we know. He was very, very, very good in the scrimmage. Javonte Barnes and it was a very situational scrimmage, right? Like they did a lot of, okay, how are we going to attack 3rd and 10? Okay, 2nd and 12 from the left hash. Let's do this. Okay, now we're going to do red zone. All that type of stuff. That's how that scrimmage went. It was free reign scrimmage for the most part, but they did a ton of situational stuff. And Javonte Barnes was really good in goal line. Like he was fantastic, I was told, in goal line. Bauer Sharp, fantastic at tight end.
Yeah.
Didn't make a lot of big plays, but made a lot of really competitive catches.
Which is that's all you need from a tight end.
Exactly.
Right? Like, especially in this offense, you got the big play weapons on the outside. You don't need Bauer Sharp to make big plays. You need him to be the chain mover in the intermediate, the guy that can find space, sit down, and wait for the ball.
Yep.
And be sure-handed when it gets there. And all indications are he's going to be able to be that guy for Oklahoma. And he may have a big player too in him. He's an athletic dude, but Brandon, like I think this part of the reason I always hate reporting on scrimmages, and I mentioned this on OUinsider.com, is because like a significant contingent of the fan base always manages to see the dark side of the moon. For instance, the defense has a dominant performance like they did on Friday. It's, oh boy, this offense sucks. It's going to be a rough go of it. And then the offense lights it up, and it's, well, Oklahoma can't stop a nosebleed again.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's going to be Mike Stoops, part duh. But part of the reason that we always make an effort with stuff like this in particular to dig in with a multiplicity of sources, a whole variety of sources, all of whom we trust greatly, is because it's not just about the what, it's about the why and the how.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, like the first thing you're going to hear after the scrimmage ends was, oh yeah, Jackson Arnold threw 2 picks and fumbled.
Yep.
And you hear that, that's all you hear. You're like, oh shoot, there might be trouble in paradise.
Well, one of them was awful, like just straight up.
Yeah,
awful.
well, but then the details begin to emerge, and it's, one of them came off a tipped pass.
Yep. Perfect pass too.
The fumble came on a handoff exchange,
Mm-hmm.
and the one interception, bad as it may be, it was one of the best defensive players in college football that got Arnold.
Pick 60. Yep.
So, and that's Danny Stutzman, by the way.
Yep.
So that kind of peels back the curtain a little bit into some of the scrimmage notes that we have for members over at OUinsider.com. But important to remember that any big play, any good play, any highlight that happens during a scrimmage comes at the expense of someone else that is also an Oklahoma Sooner. Any highlight you have is a low light for somebody else. 2 sides of the same coin. People see what they want to see. People perceive what they want to perceive when it comes to scrimmage action. Fortunately, there's only one other scheduled scrimmage this fall as of right now. It is next week, or 2 more?
Wednesday and Saturday.
Okay, Wednesday and Saturday.
There it is. Whoa! There it is.
The fun little surprise.
People don't know why we're laughing, because we talked about this off air. It happened when we were doing the pre-production part of this podcast, and we were like, we're not going to do this during the podcast. And we did. For
those of you that are listening on the audio side and have no idea what just happened, all our YouTube viewers saw it, but for whatever reason, the video call that we're on responded to my hand gesture by generating a bunch of computerized balloons. Yeah. I don't know what that was about, but and now I lost my train of thought. I don't even know where I was.
No, you were talking about the how both, what we do at OU Insider is we try to make sure both sides, you see both sides, and you can draw your own conclusion from the both sides, the good, the bad for both sides. Because we talked about on our notes, there were bad things that happened with the defense. Like, it wasn't all good. They may
no, and it's not all going to be good on August 9th,
But the defense is going to dominate. Like in the first scrimmage, if they don't dominate, you got problems. Think about it. And Parker, I want I want you to follow me up on this.
Okay.
This defense has been together now for 3 fall camps, for the most part. Now they've got new guys in there, but 22, 23, and 24 classes are now put together with 21 in 2019, and even a few 2018 potentially. I don't know if they are on this team or not.
No,
But
Woody's the only guy from the class of 2019 that's still on
okay,
the
so
squad. At
2019,
least that signed with OU out of high
right?
school. I mean, you
Yeah.
got Casey
So
Thompson. There's a 2018
yeah,
guy for you.
2018 on offense. Yeah. But the point being, well, if not, it would have been Dylan Gabriel from 2018.
He was 19.
He was 19. Okay. Anyways, um, you have a lot of experience on that defense. I mean, there's 2020, 2021, 22, and 23 guys that have all played within this system going into their second or third fall. This offense, for the most part, has a select few that are going to have gone into their second or third fall, but the vast majority, that offense is new. So if that defense is not dominating the offense right now, you've got some major freaking problems, bro. Major problems. It better dominate. They should be more cohesive. They should understand what they're doing far better than the offense right now. Do you not agree?
Especially when Brent Venables is your head football coach.
Bang.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Your expectation for the early stages of fall camp ought to be that the defense outperforms the offense when
Right.
your head coach is almost inarguably the best defensive mind, or I should say the best defensive coordinator that college football has seen in the 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly there are other defensive minds that have been head coaches, i.e. Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, that have a case, but Brent Venables, with what he's done as a coordinator, as a defensive play caller, as a defensive czar, you would fully expect that, especially with 9 of 11 starters coming back and 2 very experienced dudes sliding into the spots that your 2 departed starters previously occupied, that yes, this defense wouldn't necessarily be firing on all cylinders on August 9th, because I don't think any unit is firing on all cylinders on August 9th, but that they will be a step ahead of the offense from an evolution perspective.
Yeah, and I think, look, if that offensive line had 5 Jake Sextons on it right now, okay. Now we're talking about a completely different thing, and I would probably question why the offense didn't push the defensive line around, because it doesn't matter what position that guy's played at, whether it's tackle or guard, he has dominated. Hey, look, and everybody wants to talk about Dominic Williams. I'll tell you this, and I have been told this not by one source, but by 2 multiple sources. There it is, mother scuther. It's when you put the peace sign up, those balloons, they pop up. Don't do it. I just learned it. It's like the thumbs up. When you do the thumb up thing, you get that thumb up bubble. So anyways, you all don't know that's what happened on the auto. YouTube, you just saw it. Anyways, doesn't matter if Jake Sexton's lined up at guard or tackle. Now, he played both in the scrimmage. Okay. Don't do it. Stop. He has dominated whoever's lined up in front of him. Like he has. Dominic Williams has been very dominant this fall camp. But I've been told if 76 lines up over top of him, he's owned him. And not like when I say own, like it's been a good battle, and Dominic Williams has won a time or two.
Yeah.
But Sexton has done a really good job against one of the better D tackles in the land. So like, particularly in the SEC. So that tells you where he's at. And there are some that believe when Jake Sexton plays guard that they are a better offensive unit because he is able to communicate with everybody because he's more centered, helping let's for kicks and giggles, let's say Josh Bates is in for Hickman and Sexton's in at guard at that point. Well, now he's going to make the calls for Josh Bates. Like that's just how it has to work. You've got a guy that's got crap tons of experience, understands what Beatonbow wants, what Latrell wants. he's going to make that call. So what I'm saying is that Sexton has all this experience. Hickman has all this experience. Everett, right? Hatchett, Tarquin. If that's going to be your offensive front, you're going to be good. But here's the issue. That's not a guarantee. Like the Hatchett's been banged up in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
What if something happens to him? Tarquin's been banged up. What if something happens?
Yeah.
Hickman, Everett, they've all been banged up at one point or another, spring and fall. What if they can't go? Like, in this, I'm not saying that's happening right now. I'm just saying, what if? Well, now you're in a, and I think this is where Beatenbow probably. The funny thing is, I think this is when Beatenbow probably becomes why he is the GOAT, is because he is the one coach that you can sit there and go, he'll find something that will work. Yeah, he probably will. But you're out of depth at that point. Luckily, as far as we know at this juncture, that's not the case. They have a good chance of having a lot of people good to go come game one. So, now if that does happen, like I said, no, and it's a what if at this juncture, but can you trust Josh Sosa? Can you trust Eddie Pierre-Louis? Daniel Akinkumi is just now starting to come back from his injury.
Mm-hmm.
Can you trust him? He had a decent spring. Can you trust him? Can you trust? I'm trying to think of another BJ Brooks.
Sure.
Like, what about Howland? What about Heath Ozida?
Ozida to me is the guy that, I think
gotta
he
have him.
offers. Yeah. Well, and I do think the Sooners are going to need him at some point this year. I don't know where, I don't know when, but because he purportedly has practiced so well this spring and fall, and because he's got a little bit of positional flexibility, he may be, it sour taste in people's mouths. I understand if they don't want this comparison to be made, but he may be like your Caden Green from a year ago. Caden Green was a guy that could play multiple positions on the line, and there wasn't really an immediate need for him when the season started. But lo and behold, midway through the year, you gotta plug a leak in the Texas game, and Green turned out not only to be your fix-a-flat guy, but a really solid starting left guard for the remainder of the season. And with Ozida's experience, having played both tackle and guard, if they do get in a situation, and I think he and Tarquin are very similar in this regard. If you do get in a situation where you just got to have somebody and maybe you got to shuffle a few pieces around, but you got to plug that hole, you got to fill a void. I think Ozida is going to be one of the natural choices that you turn to, especially if Tarquin is already in the lineup at that point.
Yeah, and I didn't bring up Jake Taylor or Spencer Brown, which, by the way, Jake Taylor has been really good. Again, he's one guy that you hope he can stay healthy.
Yeah, well, and if he wins that right tackle job, I think that speaks volumes for him. It really does, and should inspire a lot of confidence, because what that means is, I mean, you have two guys on that roster in Michael Tarquin and Spencer Brown that have plenty of experience starting at right tackle, and all told have each started 25 plus games at the collegiate level. If Jake Taylor is starting over both of those guys at right tackle, it's because Bill Beatenbow gave him the full stamp of approval.
Right. Yep.
No ambiguity there.
And Spencer Brown, Fabici Wewu talked about Spencer Brown being really good tonight during his, and I know.
I hope that's the case, man.
Parker, everybody doesn't know. Parker is like, he's like, no, when it comes to
what I saw
Brown,
in the spring game with Spencer Brown, I was like, ugh, I don't know, man.
So
hope that one works out.
Well, like a source told me last week, Spencer Brown's awkward in how he goes about things, and to the point where I think it drives Coach Beatenbow a little crazy.
Which it would. It
Yeah,
sure
because
would.
he's a technician, right? He's a
Very much
technical
so.
coach. And if you're not doing it technically sound the way he wants you to do it, it's going to drive him nuts. But the thing is when Spencer Brown gets in there, the source goes, he gets the job done. The weirdest way, like it's so awkward. It's so hard to watch sometimes because it's not how you're taught, but he does it. And for somebody like Beatenbow, that's like hard for him to. He's had to like from what I'm told, he's had to really adjust how he coaches Spencer Brown because of that. So
You know what's running through
I
my
would
head
love to
right
be a
now?
fly on the wall for that, by the way.
You know what's running through my head right now?
What's
Have you
that?
watched Parks and Rec?
Yeah, of course,
Okay,
yes.
I figured that was a safe bet. What's running through my head is Tom Haverford bowling granny style and beating Ron.
Oh, Ron losing at anything is probably one of the funniest comedic things ever, just because he is so bland and yet so competitive. Nick Offerman's like the way he's fantastic, fantastic. Um, I digress. Way to go, Parker.
Thanks.
Get me on that. Um, anyways, yeah, it's I I have a little bit of faith in this offensive line. Not a lot right now, but I got faith because if they don't shape up, look, I think right now, I think there's three guys you can look at and you go, oh, I 100% trust them. Sexton, Hickman, Waywu. You're going to
Yep.
trust those three.
Yep.
Those are the three.
You can ride
No
with
matter
those
who you
dudes.
talk to, those are the three. Now, whenever it gets healthy, there's your fourth. You need a fifth guy. Is that going to be Hatchett? Now, Hatchett's trying to get into that starting lineup. He hasn't been working in that starting lineup right now. But from what I've been told, is like he's freaking good. And the problem is that he's a guard center. Like if he could play tackle, he would be starting because he's that good. But he just can't play tackle. That's not his strength. So there's some issues, but on the defensive side, that's where the fun's at, right? Like that's where with this team, that's where the fun's at
Yeah, well, and
because they're healthy.
they're pretty healthy, all things
Mm-hmm.
considered. And they have studs at all three
Knocking wood.
levels, man. And I don't know how much this has been talked about, but how many programs in America can boast that they have a nationally elite player at every single level? Because you have Dominic Williams up front, you have Danny Stutzman at linebacker, you have Billy Bowman back there at safety. All, I think, without question, are at minimum top 10 in the country.
Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Oklahoma.
I mean,
Maybe Notre Dame.
I don't even know if some of those programs that you mentioned can stake that claim. Because
Really?
again, like it's not just
Which ones can't?
well, it's not just
That I
about
named.
having three dudes. It's about having a dude at every level. Again,
Well, I
like
know that's what I mean. Like I think they have a good D line, at least one elite D line, a good elite linebacker, and an elite safety. Like Ohio State has Caleb Downs, right?
sure,
Their whole front four is elite, and all three of their linebackers are elite.
top 10 in the
Like
country
who?
elite.
I think Texas would be the one where I'd probably misspoke, would be honest. And that's not just because it's Texas. I just don't think they have an elite defensive lineman right now. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean Baron Sorrell's pretty good. Elite, I don't know.
Top
Um,
10 elite?
exactly. Well, and then again, that's my point is no, I don't think anyone questions. I don't think anyone questions that Billy Bowman is one of the top 10 defensive backs in college football and that Danny Stutzman is one of the top 10 linebackers in college
Correct.
football. And there would be plenty that would be willing to elevate those dudes to top 5.
Mm-hmm.
The one that maybe you could argue, I guess, is Dominic Williams, because again, I think, and why that conversation is so subjective is because a defensive lineman's impact on a game is tough to quantify unless you really,
Yep.
really scrutinize it because it's not going to show up in the box score. But again, I I think when Dominic Williams hit the transfer portal, the programs that were vying for his services and the money that was being thrown around, that is a testament to how highly he is regarded among the best minds in college football, the best programs in college football. That is the type of feeding frenzy that you see if a truly elite defensive lineman gets in the portal. And if Dominic Williams wasn't truly elite, if it wasn't already evident that he was truly elite based on what he did at TCU, the way that the Sharks began swirling as soon as he entered the portal ought to tell you that much.
Yeah, and I think there will be some that would say, well, it's because he was spring and there wasn't a lot of defensive tackles. I call BS on that, because you remember all the D tackles that were in the portal spring? Like, it was ridiculous.
There were a few. There were
There were
quite a
some
few.
dudes. Like, what was the dude from Michigan State?
Simeon Barrow.
Simeon Barrow, and then Stephen F. Austin, dude. My gosh, I went blank. Was really
Brandon
good.
Lane.
Yeah, Brandon Lane was in there. I don't think he's like elite, but he's a really good player.
Who was he? Was the Stephen F. Austin guy though, right?
Yes, he was. He went to
Okay,
Louisville.
that's what I
Yes.
thought.
Yeah.
And then
Who was
yeah, then
who was there was another one.
Derek Harmon also from
Derek Harmon
Michigan
from
State.
Michigan State. Yes,
Yep.
like but there was another one besides that. Oh my gosh, I'm going blank here. But there were several that OU was after. They sniffed around with several, right?
Yeah, with guys like Aiden
Oh my
Huntington,
gosh.
Chris Hardy.
We're missing the boat on one of them that was committed to OU.
Oh yeah, Jermaine Lola. Again, like
Yeah.
Jermaine Lola is not on Dominic Williams level, but
No, but he's a good player.
yeah, good player, certainly.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But that that spring defensive tackle spot, it was so loaded for such a random window, right? Like, the spring window is never that deep. And it was really deep at D tackle. But Dominic Williams was the best. And there's a reason why everybody, like, USC came in late and tried to throw like just a horde at that dude. He's like, no, I'm going to. He even said it, like, the second he got in the portal, after he talked to Oklahoma, after his mom talked to Brent Venables and Bates, she told him, if you're not going to OU, I'm going for you. Like, that's what's happening. And so he knew no matter where he visited, the end of the road was always going to lead back to the University of Oklahoma, which I thought was very telling. And we were reporting like that almost the whole time he was in. Texas tried to make a run. LSU tried to make a run. Who else was in that thing? Missouri. Yeah, like, they all tried to make a run. I believe Oregon tried to make a run as well, right? If I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
But his heart was at OU from the get-go. So I think when we look back at that, Parker, I think we're going to look back at that as being a very pivotal moment in the transformation of the University of Oklahoma defense moving forward, was landing Dominic Williams. I think David Stone, Dejon Terry, Jaden Jackson, Dominic Williams. I think the fact that those guys were landed in consecutive cycles changed everything for Oklahoma. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with the impact that I expect Dominic Williams to have for Oklahoma this fall, again, like I go back to it. I don't think you're going to be able to quantify it by looking at the box score. But I think anybody who watches Oklahoma football games on Saturday is going to be able to tell that Dominic Williams' very presence is making life a lot easier for the other 10 guys on the field for Oklahoma's defense. And I'll tell you this much, man.
I asked PJ that today. Remember?
Well, yeah. Yeah. And Dominic Williams has been the subject of so much buzz, deservedly so, but I'm just sitting, smiling, looking at my portfolio of Kaden Woolard stocks that I've been holding on to.
Yep.
That's a dude that's gonna, I think, bring some hell to the trenches for Oklahoma in 2024.
So I was talking to a source today on the way home from Kansas City. I know you set that up for me to do this. And this person, again, has been, they don't know the roster like to a T. They know the numbers. This person knows football better than almost anybody you'll ever talk to. Like
Mike Gundy. You were talking to Mike Gundy.
No, well, I think you know who I was talking to, but what struck me is that I go, so outside of Dominic Williams and Grayson Halton, who did you like on the defense? And without hesitation, 3 names were brought up like that. Now, Ethan Downs was brought up earlier, and everybody's been talking about how much Ethan Downs has just been a problem this fall camp. Like, he has been really good. I expect him to have a career year if he can stay healthy. I do. I think that's happening. And that's saying something considering the fact he is a back-to-back second team All Big 12, right? 2 years in a row. So that means he's at least going to be third or second team All SEC if he has the year I expect him to have. Now, this person had talked about Ethan Downs, had talked about Dominic Williams, had talked about Grayson Halton quite a bit. Like I said, I said, hey, so who else on the defense? I don't care the position, whatever. You tell me, who did you like? Like, you watched the whole scrimmage. Who did you like? That number 90 and David Stone were unbelievable. And I said, okay, stop. Are you talking about Kaden Woolard? That's the guy, they said. That's the guy. The guy that's from the MAC. That's all they said. The guy that had all the sacks in the MAC. And I said, that would be Kaden Woolard.
He did have all the sacks in the MAC.
Yep. And I said, what did you like about him? He goes, his first step, and he plays angry, like just plays angry. And they said he is just like a heat-seeking missile. And he said sometimes he gets too far upfield because he's so aggressive. And I said, oh, by the way, they also said PJ Adebawara. I said 3. The third one was Adebawara. And I said, so do you think he can be a sack guy? They said, absolutely. They said when he strikes that tackle, they said he is just so forceful, so angry that either the tackle is going to have to do something to retaliate or they're going to be off balance. So they love the way he played. So he moved across into the defense. He said, David Stone, he didn't make a play all the time, but when he did, he said it was felt and you saw it. And he goes, he may not be the biggest playmaker, but he may be the best playmaker in the biggest moments. And I said, why do you think that? He goes, because every time there was a third down, he somehow found his way in the backfield to break. He said he may not have sacked the quarterback, but he caused the pocket to collapse several times. And he said, that's the stuff I know. So he goes, defensive tackles, Parker said it earlier, they're not going to get a bunch of stats. It's how do you help out the rest of the defensive line? And he said, and this is why I asked PJ that question, because this source said, and PJ Adebawara is one of those that benefited from it, because every time David Stone would collapse, here come PJ around the corner, just waiting on whoever was playing quarterback at the time. So he said it was a problem. It was a problem. He said it was like, if it wasn't one side of the D-line, it was the other side of the D-line causing havoc. And he said that's what's going to make this defense so deadly, because he said, and I quote, I've never been worried about the back end of that defense because you have Peyton Bowen, you have Billy Bowman, Gentry Williams is obviously injured. We'll talk about that in a second. And you got Woody Washington. He goes, you have
Forget about
Jacoby
it.
Johnson. You have nothing to worry about. Like, these are dudes, studs. He said, not going to be worried about them. You're not going to be worried about linebackers because it's Brent Venables. He goes, I always wanted to make sure they got one or two extra guys on that D line. He said, the additions of Kaden Ward and the additions of Dominic Williams changes everything.
And so many people, when Kaden Ward committed to Oklahoma, so many people looked at that addition and said, "Oh, a guy from Miami of Ohio, how good can he possibly be? That's
No,
depth.
he's
That's
ranked super
nothing more."
high. That's where good he was.
But here's the thing about Kaden Woolard. Here's what everybody ought to have understood and certainly ought to understand now. He's from Massillon, Ohio, and he is a blue collar kid from a blue collar family. And if you're not familiar with the football tradition of Massillon, Ohio, get familiar with it. So, one thing you never
There's
have
a
to question,
documentary on Amazon, by the way, if you want to go watch it.
one thing you never have to question with that type of kid and one who plays the defensive end position is exactly what you mentioned, Brandon. They're going to play angry. They're going to play like a Rottweiler on a chain. Now, how good they and how impactful they can ultimately be is dependent on a whole lot of other things as well. Like, it's not just about playing angry. You understand that. But Caden Ward is also 6'5", 260 pounds. He is a legitimate physical specimen. And when you're a specimen of that variety and you play with the tenacity that he plays with, stuff's going to happen.
Yep.
Good stuff's going to happen for you as an individual and for that Oklahoma defensive front. That was a very, very underrated pickup by the Sooners.
Oh,
It was underrated at the time. I still think he's probably flying under the radar a little bit more than he should be. I will not be shocked at all. I will not be shocked at all if he is a guy that's getting some national love this fall. And I'm not necessarily talking like he's going to, go win major awards or anything. Like, I'm not trying to set the expectations there, but like there may be a couple games of his that catch the eyes of some of the folks nationally that look out for real difference makers on the defensive side. And to your point about David Stone, one of the things I always go back to, man, is when was the last time you had a legit sack merchant on this defense at Oklahoma? And it was 2020. You actually had two of them. Nick Benito on one side, Isaiah Thomas on the other.
yeah.
But what not as many folks will be as quick to remember is that Oklahoma had a future Senior Bowl MVP at defensive tackle on that unit. And Perion Winfrey, his very presence, similar to what you were talking about with David Stone and similar to what we've discussed with Dominic Williams, his very presence made life significantly easier for both Nick Benito and Isaiah Thomas. And so as I consider what this 2024 outlook defensively truly is for Oklahoma, that's what gets me really excited. That's what should get everybody really, really excited, Brandon, is if they can stay healthy, start to finish, they're going to be an absolutely fearsome defensive front because there are mismatches everywhere. It's not just one guy that's your meal ticket. There are mismatches everywhere.
So while you were talking, I went and looked it up. Where do you remember where Caden Woolard was ranked in the transfer portal rankings?
He was top 100.
Oh, yes. Way up there in the top 100, by the way. For those that don't understand how good he is, he was a 2-star coming out of high school. 2-star.
Which anyone in that region will
Correct.
tell you was a product of the COVID-19 pandemic. Caden
Correct.
Ward was a COVID-19 casualty. He was a guy that fell through the cracks, and there were a lot of them.
That he did. And I believe does he have 1 or 2 years left?
Just one. This
He's
is
got
last
1.
year. Yep.
Okay. So he's not like Hatchet where he's got two years because he didn't
Just this
okay.
season.
So he had over, I want to say 14, 15 sacks at total. Most of them came last year when he had a career year with dang near 10 sacks. Um, he was number 41 overall in the Rivals transfer portal rankings, by the way. I remember talking to Adam Friedman and Adam Gordney about him. They asked me, they said, what is the thought of him? I said, well, go look at the offers. And they went and looked at the offers that he had. They came back, they're like, we're going to put him in the top 100. I said, probably a good idea. The dude had about 10 sacks last year, too. And yeah, it was Mac and all, but who cares? Who cares? A dude can play, and everybody in the Switzer Center is jacked about this guy. They're jacked. You want to know who we haven't talked about is Jaden Jackson, and it's not because he's not good. It's because as good as he is, there's other. It's a defensive tackle. That's why. Like, unfortunately, how do you put this? He's just not getting the numbers. Like
of course, yeah. And look,
he's not. He's like a Dejon Terry, right?
And everybody's always wondering, why haven't I heard so and so's name? Why haven't I heard XYZ dude's name? It's because there are 85 scholarship dudes on the roster. You can't talk about them all, otherwise things get really, really bogged down. But you know what was interesting was when we talked to PJ tonight, he was asked, I believe, by Barry Trammell, who's the one player on this defense that people aren't talking about enough. You remember what his answer was? Enjoying this episode of the Under the Visor podcast? There's plenty more exclusive content, including team and recruiting intel from the market's top insiders, when you become a subscriber. Head to OUinsider.com to get started today and join the vibrant online community of Sooner fans on the Rivals Network. It'll only cost you a few bucks a month, and take my word for it, we'll make it worth your while.
It wasn't. It was.
It was R. Mason Thomas.
R. Mason Thomas. It was R. Mason Thomas. Yep, R. Mason Thomas. That's right.
He said R. Mason Thomas is going to have himself a season.
That if you watch the Alamo Bowl, I agree. He lived in the backfield during the Alamo Bowl. It's
been health for him these last 2 years. Like there was do you remember how much praise there was for R. Mason Thomas in fall camp in 2022 when he was a true freshman who had been on campus for 2 months, was still severely underweight relative to what he needed to be to play the position that he plays. And nobody could block the kid.
Yeah, he was 210, 215 pounds at the time and was just dominating everybody. And I remember at camp that year, it was a day that they'd brought David Stone in. They brought David Stone, they brought Zadavian Sims, Colton Yarborough. Help me out here, Parker. Who else was there? Because PJ was on his official visit.
Yep. Williams Winery was there that day.
Williams Winery was there.
Edric Hill was there that day.
Yep. It was huge. And I remember talking to Miguel Chavis, just sitting over there talking, just kind of chatting it up with him a bit. And he looked at me and he goes, Drumm, if R. Mason Thomas ever gets some weight in his britches, he said bricks in his britches, talking about weight. He said, he's going to be a problem. He said, that was somebody they had to get. He felt like they had to get that guy. And everybody remembers it was down between Iowa State and Oklahoma. But the funny thing is, as it got closer and closer to National Signing Day in February, you remember what everybody started saying about him was he might be a top 250 player in the country if you go back and you watch his film. Like, that's one of those kids that is super underrated.
Yep.
That we're going to look back at one of these days. Yep. Everybody, because we were at 24/7 at the time, and Andrew Ivins said, we might look back at that one day and go, we missed the boat on that guy. We missed the boat on that guy. And praised Iowa State and Oklahoma for their evaluations of him. And they were fighting like dogs to get him to flip from Iowa State. So that was a huge get for Oklahoma. And if he pans out, shoot, he's got all the potential in the world because we continually hear about how good he is, no matter who you talk to.
Mm-hmm.
R. Mason, R. Mason, R. Mason, R.
And
Mason.
if he pans out, man, if he pans out, I'm gonna have it on my resume that I was an R. Mason Thomas early
You're
adopter
the president. You were the
because
president.
boy, I remember watching his senior film the day that Oklahoma offered and going, oh man,
Yeah.
there's something here. Yeah,
That
that was
first
not an
step.
Iowa State guy. That was not an Iowa State guy. And yeah, he was undersized, but the comment I made and what remains true about R. Mason Thomas, he plays with his hair on fire.
Yep. So does PJ. PJ does too. And he's put on a lot of weight. And we talked to him about that today. And I thought that was something that was really interesting. I asked him, I said, so how hard? Well, he goes, so hard. Like he hated it. He said it was a lot of food, a lot of work, a lot of being disciplined, just really taking it seriously. He said, and I think, was it Barry Trammell that asked him because he said he hated eating
Mm-hmm.
afterwards? He goes, I hate food.
I mean,
And Barry was like
PJ's
almost disgusted with that, what he said. He was like, so you're telling me you don't like to eat anymore? And but PJ dove into it and was like, well, that's all I did. He goes, the only time I ever felt good about eating was after workouts when I was starved. He
well, and
said,
he's
otherwise,
been bulking virtually nonstop for the last
yeah.
3 years. Like the story goes, and I remember having this conversation with him when he was a senior in high school, I believe. It was sometime, it might have been at the Under Armour All American game where he was eating 6 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches a day in
Mm,
addition to 3 square meals to try and pack on weight. Because, like, if you ever see PJ with your own two eyes, you begin to realize that he is naturally a very slender human being. Like,
mm-hmm.
it does take a ton of effort on his part to be able to pack that muscle on and keep it on. And it's been a continual effort
Yep.
in that sense for 3 years, ever since he started playing defense.
Yeah, boy, I remember just watching him at that Under Armour game and going, good God, nobody can block that dude.
Nope, nobody could.
He was unbelievable. Um, yeah, he was a really good interview. Did you get to interview Kip, by the way?
No, Jesse was the one who was
Did
over
you
with Kip.
watch it? I haven't
I,
got to watch it
I
yet.
have not watched it yet.
I'm interested to see how he feels because that was another guy during the scrimmage that everybody kind of talked up. There was Lewis Baker, Kip Lewis, a lot of Kobe McKenzie talk. And
I know
then
you meant Lewis Carter, but I think
Lewis Carter, gosh dang
the
it.
Lewis Baker slip was a funny one.
Yeah, that gummit.
That's a
Lewis
throwback
Carter.
for you.
Yeah. Lewis Baker, man. Lewis Baker could ball. Burn me deep. Burn me deep Baker. When he played safety a little bit too. That's what I call him. We had Burn Me Deep Bassie and Burn Me Deep Baker.
Oh no.
They got a crick in their neck when I was a student, man. I'm sorry. Um, so speaking of names let's talk about Gentry Williams real quick because this
Okay.
breaks my heart. It does. Obviously it's been reported and we've confirmed it and talked about it. Yeah, he hurt his shoulder again. We don't know the severity of it quite yet. What I do know, and you can vouch for this, Parker, is I've known Gentry since he was in 7th or 8th grade. Very close with him and his family. And this, last year was tough, but he kept fighting through it. The year that he tore his ACL was tough, but he kept fighting through it. This one hurt. And yeah, physically hurt, but like mentally and
Well, and
emotionally
also like
hurt.
I think the reason being, Brandon, I think the reason why it is so difficult to watch a guy go through something like this is because it's the same body part that's been continually betraying him. And this is kind of I'm on two different levels here. Like this is not the same thing in terms of severity, but it's almost reminiscent of Caleb Kelly,
Yeah.
with the knee issues that he kept
It's a good
having
analogy. Yeah.
that just inhibited his career time after time after time. He'd get healthy and then boom, that knee would blow out again. And similarly for Gentry Williams, Caleb Kelly dealt with it for 6 years with his knees. Gentry Williams is going on year 3, and he hasn't been dealing with the shoulder for nearly that long, but it has been something that's just been continually nagging. It's been there. It's been
Mm-hmm.
omnipresent for the last year and a half. And so what sucks about it is, there's nothing you can do about it if you're in his seat. Like
Yeah.
you have that um one persistent issue that just keeps rearing its ugly head.
And the worst part is like he keeps in, and Venables talked about it. Like he's a game changer for him. Like he said it. He's healthy. He changes stuff for that defense. He makes them better.
Mm-hmm.
But he can't stay healthy. And it's so unfortunate. Like I talked to some people close to him. This is about as close as you could get to him. And it was more of why? Why him? Why does this keep happening to him? Now, I want to say this, like Gentry is keeping a positive mindset from what I'm told. Like he's trying his hardest to stay positive.
Got to.
But at some point, you you just feel for the kid because that's all he ever wanted to do growing up is play at the University of Oklahoma. Like there's photos out there of him as a little kid at games with his family. They were season ticket. His mom graduated from the University of Oklahoma. His dad is like the diehard of all diehards of the University of Oklahoma. They love OU. That's what they love. That kid, from the time he was 4 years old on, had one goal and one goal in mind. Is that was it, it's much like Ethan Downs and why Ethan Downs is such a beloved player at the University of Oklahoma because that's all he ever wanted to do was play at the University of Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
That's Gentry. That's all he ever wanted to do. He's the ultimate team guy. And this is coming from people within the team. Ultimate team guy. It's never me, me, me. It's always, how can I help you, you, you? He epitomizes everything that team is supposed to be about. And so you cheer for it and you want to see that kid succeed. And it's hard to watch when you know the kid. You know him. I know him. It's hard. It's very difficult to watch him go through that because he lost his junior year to an ACL. And I was at the game when that ACL happened. I will never forget that when the dude pulled him down on the track and buckled his knee. He was 15 yards out of bounds when the guy grabbed his horse collared him out. So, like, it's always been something that has held him back from finishing. His senior year, he was not full go. He was trying, but he was still working through that knee coming back from ACL. People think it was just ACL. It was ACL, MCL. It was everything. Like he blew that sucker out. And
all of the CLs.
All the CLs were gone. And so it's just tough to watch, man. I hate it for him. There's a lot of guys on that team that you hate to see get injured. This is one that just bothers me just because of everything he stands for as a person. And I want to give. So at the end of Meet the Players, this tells you how good of a kid he is. They're rushing everybody out, Parker. You got to go. It's time to go. It's time to go because they knew that the players would be in there signing autographs forever if they didn't push them out. He walks over to my two boys, grabs that little photo that we have down over here that they took of themselves with my daughter to get signed, and goes up one by one to Danny Stutzman, to R. Mason Thomas, to RSJ, to Ethan Downs, all the way down to make them sign the poster to make sure they got as many defensive players as they could before they left. Who does that? Like that's a good dude. Nobody asked him to do it. He did it. So like I don't know. I hope it's not as bad as people say it is. How about that? Long story short.
Mhm.
Because not only that, if he's healthy, he changes everything for that cornerback, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And fortunately, it's a room where I think
yeah.
they're maybe even deeper than they anticipated being
Mhm.
because Eli Bowen has done some really, really nice things on the practice field, and he may be a rotation guy sooner rather than later. But there's no doubt that when Gentry Williams is healthy, he is probably just from a physical tool, sheer ceiling standpoint, he's the best cornerback you got.
Yeah. And that's not like to say anything about Woody. Like Woody's
No, no,
great.
no. Yeah.
But Gentry, dude, there's a reason why he led the Big 12 in interceptions before he got hurt. It's like he was phenomenal last year before he got injured. Unbelievable. Like Brent Venables said, when he's in the game, he makes plays. That's what he does. So you need him to be healthy. If you're an OU fan, you got to pray he's healthy because he changes the game for you. He makes that defense way better. Um, you want to know who else makes that defense way better besides Billy Bowman? Maybe being the best safety in college football, not named Caleb Downs, Peyton Bowen. That
Yeah.
dude has been stupid good.
That tracks.
Oh my God. For all the drama they went through to get that dude,
He's been worth it.
he's been worth every bit of it. Holy crap. No, like you said, Eli Bowen, right? You got his brother to go on top of it. Boy, that was a 2-for-1 deal. His brother's going to be a superstar too when it's all said and done.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will.
Crazy. Crazy. Before we go, again, if you're not on OU Insider, go sign up. The 12th through the 16th of August, 75% off. All you have to do is use the promo code SEC24. August 12th through August 16th. Put that in your calendar. Make sure you sign up. SEC24. You'll get OU Insider for 1 year for a mere $24. Something like $24, $25, something like that. 75% off. It's worth it. If you're a college student, email Parker and I at ouinsider@rivals.com. We will send you a promo code to get OU Insider for a whole year for $11.95, not even $1 a month. But you have to email us from a .edu. Again, if you're in college, have a .edu, email us at ouinsider@rivals.com. We will send you a promo code. You will be able to sign up and get us for a whole year for $11.95 if you're a college student. If not, wait till August 12th, sign up, get us for 75% off. 12th through the 16th of August. It's worth it. It's worth it. All right, quickly, we got to talk about Michael Fasusi and Andrew Babalola.
Huey.
Do you still think Texas will end up doing what they got to do with Michael Fasusi?
I I don't know, Brandon. I don't even want to invest any brain space in that because I
Uh,
don't think Babalola's recruitment is coming to an end before
no,
Fasusi's, and so again, I got one more week where I don't really have to deploy a whole lot of brain power to try and crack the code as to where Fasusi winds up.
something tells me something's going to break this week. By the way, I do.
Okay.
I think I feel it, and I feel it in my loins that something's going to break this week. So, and I know you got a smart aleck something to say about that. What I just said. Keep it to yourself. Um, no, I do. I think something is going to leak out. I wish I wouldn't have used that phrase. Something will matriculate out about Michael Fasusi. I don't know why I feel that way this week. We've already heard that he's going around saying he knows where he's going to go. He already knows where he's going to go. Okay, that's great. There's a lot of buzz that Oklahoma feels really good. There's a lot of buzz right now that Texas may not think it's worth the problem and worth the cheddar to deal with that. I'll believe that when I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, I guess they can go to the portal to try to fix their offensive tackle problems, whatever. But long term, Fasusi could be the best offensive tackle target in quite some time. Like, he's good. He's really freaking good. And there's a reason why he's ranked, what, number 7 in the country right now overall, something to that extent. 7, 8, 9, 10, something to that extent. He's one of the best in the country, no matter position. If Bill Bedenbaugh can pull off one of Andrew Babalola and or Michael Fasusi with the class that he already has in hand in 2025 for the offensive line, because I will go to my grave, Ryan Foje, he's going to be a superstar. I feel it.
You won't have to go to your grave.
I know.
We'll know before.
I don't know why I use that phrase at all. I hope I don't have to go to my grave. I would like to be able to see him play for 4 or 5 years. And look, I think he's going to be really good. I think he's going to end up a top 100 guy at Rivals when it's all said and done. I think Oklahoma ends up with 2 top 100 tackles. I think Bill Bedenbaugh gets that monkey off his back that everybody says, oh, you can't recruit elite offensive tackles, even though he got Kaden Green the year before, which I don't understand why they say that. And he has done it with transfer portal guys forever. But you would have to explain that to me, Parker, because I'll never understand why it matters if it's transfer portal or not. He's gotten elite offensive tackles. So, I don't know. So I'll ask you, I think Christian Jones is going to go a couple weeks into the season. Does that worry you for Oklahoma's standing?
If it goes deep into the season, yes. If the decision is made by week 4, week 5 of the college football season, no, it doesn't worry me. If the decision gets made in September, I feel good about Oklahoma's chances. If it drags into October and later, then it kind of feels like Grant Bricks all over again, doesn't it? And understandably so.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. I hope you guys enjoyed this version of the OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast. Again, August 12th through the 16th. Promo code SEC24 will get you 75% off OU Insider. You can sign up for $24, $25, get us for a whole year. Or you can try us out at $9.95 a month. If I'm you, I go get that $24, $25 and get a whole year. Or if you're a college student, email us, ouinsider@rivals.com. We will send you back a promo code to make sure you get OU Insider for a whole year at only $11.95, less than $1 a month. Again, you have to email us from a.edu, and we will make that work for you. We have a lot of news coming for you guys. We've got Brent Venables coming up on Tuesday. We get to go view practice on Thursday, so a lot of practice observations coming for you guys. Post-practice on Thursday. Wednesday scrimmage. Saturday scrimmage. We'll have notes on both of those. All of that on OU Insider VIP. Plus, Michael Fasusi is got another, what is today? The 11th. Literally 10 days from now, he will be making his final decision, Parker. And we will have all that coverage for you on OU Insider VIP. Plus, the season is starting up in literally 2.5 weeks. So make sure you're on ouinsider.com as a VIP member to make sure you get all the latest on everything team, whether there's injuries, whether there's everything. We will have that for you, OU Insider VIP. For Parker Thune, my name is Brandon Drumm. You guys have a blessed night.